Welcome back to Go With Us, and this is everything you really need to know this week in Pokemon Go, running from the 27th of July all the way until the 3rd of August. Let's get straight into our calendar, but before we go any further, please remember, if you are watching this on Sunday, that Ozone Ascent event is live, featuring Rayquaza. Please remember, everyone will get access to a free timed research where we can get one meteorite, including one encounter with Rayquaza. That 100% IV is going to be 1643 because it is coming from research. Please remember, hold off on spending this meteorite if you did not get your ideal Rayquaza. Unless it's kind of a 98 or above, to be honest, I would hold on to that meteorite because they're very difficult to come by, and we know at some point that Mega Rayquaza will have its own Ray Day, probably in order to get us to that Super Mega level Rayquaza, and ultimately you can only use one meteorite to teach Rayquaza Dragon Ascent, and only from there it can Mega Evolve with 400 energy. Hold off on using that meteorite unless you get a good one. That will be ending at 8 p.m. on Sunday night. Of course, if you purchase the paid timed research ticket for a total cost of $5, you would then get another meteorite, another encounter with Rayquaza for a total of 2 now, but you are guaranteed to get Mega Energy and most likely enough to Mega Evolve it. Make your choice, but in my opinion, hold off. If you guys are a little bit confused about this Rayquaza event, I'm going to leave it above me right now, and I will leave it as the end screen just to make sure you guys are in the know about what's going on about Rayquaza, this little event, and of course what's potentially to come. Let's move back to our calendar again, and let's have a look at our Dynamax debut of Feebas. Of course, Feebas can go into DMAX Milotic, but how good is DMAX Milotic going to be in 2026? Well, the best place to start is to have a look at its base stats. If you didn't know, Milotic is a pure water type. It has a max CP of 3398, which is still solid, an attack of 192, a defense of 219, and an HP of 216. Off the bat here, its attack stat is looking a little bit low, and even those defensive stats, they are decent, but of course we can't make any judgment until we have a look at its fast moves. It has access to 2 fast attacks, which is going to be Dragon Tail, a dragon type move, as well as Waterfall, a water type move. The problem with both of these moves is that they are 1 second fast moves. None of them are half a second fast moves, so even though its defense and HP is pretty solid, as a tanking Pokemon, it's going to get beaten out by other water types, especially even budget options like Vaporeon, for example. But even if you were trying to use Milotic as a tank, unfortunately these moves aren't really doing it any favors. So as a Dynamax Pokemon, it's very much going to be a dex filler. Of course, that DMAX shiny Feebas would look incredible going into the shiny DMAX Milotic. People might only hunt this Pokemon purely for that, which is very important. But let's have a look at Milotic as a raid attacker. As a regular raid attacker, it's barely breaking into the top 60 just because its attack stat is far too low. However, in the Great League and Ultra League right now, this Pokemon actually has some really good play, to my surprise. That being said, every single Feebas going into Milotic coming from this DMAX raids are going to have a base floor of 10, 10, 10, so you're not going to have the optimal IV sets. That being said, a big incentive to play this Max Monday is not necessarily for the Pokemon, but for the reward. Please remember that every single in-person DMAX battle on that Monday from 6 to 7 is going to guarantee you a rare XL candy. That is probably the biggest incentive on this Monday. Don't miss out for that reason. Something I want to add on here very quickly is going to be the DMAX Milotic. Yeah, you know what's coming. He's just told me that everyone here needs to hit that subscribe button. We are here every single Sunday for these This Week episodes, and of course covering every single event. Yeah, that's right, Milotic. Make sure to help them hit that subscribe button. Before Milotic interrupted me, I just wanted to take you through the eggs this season. Remember, these are going to be the Pokemon hatching from 2-kilometer eggs. These are going to be the Pokemon hatching from 5-kilometer eggs. These are the Pokemon hatching from 7-kilometer eggs. Remember, you can only get 7-kilometer eggs by opening gifts from friends, and you need to have egg slots open to receive these 7-kilometer eggs. These are going to be your 10-kilometer eggs, and these are going to be your 12-kilometer eggs. But as we know, every single Monday morning, we do get access to our Adventure Sync rewards. But there are 2 specific eggs, a 5-kilometer Adventure Sync egg if you walk 25 kilometers the week prior, as well as a 10-kilometer Adventure Sync egg, which you would have to walk 50 kilometers. If you walk 50 kilometers, you will get access to both, as you can see on screen right now, and these eggs hatch different Pokemon. The 5-kilometer Adventure Sync eggs are going to be Budew, Chingling, Sableye, Tyrogue, and Happiny. The 10-kilometer Adventure Sync eggs are going to be Druddigon, Toxel, Bagon, Drampaw, and Gibble. Let's get back to our calendar again, and let's now move on to Tuesday, which is going to be the 28th. There are a couple things I want to mention, but let's just talk about that research breakthrough box and all the Pokemon that might be coming from it. Remember, this is coming from your 7th day stamp. Once you complete field research tasks and get a stamp every single day, you will get a research breakthrough box with some XP and premium items, but you will also get an encounter with a reward Pokemon. Those are going to be Dragonite at 100% CP is going to be 1625. Axew's in there at 586 CP. Honedge is in there at 595. Jangma-O is in there at 415 CP. Indeedee male and female are in there at 1027 and 1047 respectively. Cloth is in there at 1030 CP. Cloth is the only one that cannot be shiny, but later in the season it will most likely be shiny. Still on Tuesday, don't forget about Showcase Tuesdays. This is very important to mention because we can tick off a couple of boxes. You can chip away your Platinum Showcase medal, which requires you to win 100 showcases, but once you do that, you will also get an encounter with a PhD Pikachu, which is one of the rarest costume Pikachus in the game. How you can achieve this much easier on Tuesdays is that you can enter up to 5 different showcases on that Tuesday. Last Tuesday, I think I only entered like 3 or 4, but I managed to win 2 out of those 4. Also, I was playing in quieter areas, so if you're struggling to win those showcases, you don't have a big collection of Pokemon, especially in their XXL form, quieter areas where there are showcase Pokestops are going to be a much easier way for you to win. Back to our calendar again, what a lot of people forget about is going to be your Choose Your Path research quest. This is going to be running from the 28th all the way until the 3rd. What these Choose Your Path research quests do is it allows you to choose 3 different options, which is normally Explore, Catch, or Battle. Exploring normally earns you 5 times XP for spinning Pokestops. Catch, which is going to be for XP, is going to grant you 1.5 times XP for catching Pokemon for nice throws or better. And if you pick Battle, that's normally focused around raids, which is going to grant you an additional 5,000 XP upon completing a raid battle. This particular Choose Your Path research is going to be surrounding Fairy type Pokemon because it's titled Fairy Trail. We're not sure what those Pokemon are yet, but there are some very good Fairy type Pokemon in the game. Make sure to play this and complete as many tasks as possible because all those tasks are going to be field research, timed research. All of their base floors are 10 10 10, so it gives you a much higher chance at getting a hundo. While we're on Tuesday, we have to talk about our 5-star raid bosses happening this week. It looks like Solgaleo will be in raids. Please remember that Solgaleo for the very first time in Pokemon Go can be shiny. I actually had another community member get 2 shinies in a row. Shout out to Big Sean, which was incredible. Solgaleo is a psychic and steel type Pokemon. Let's revisit those base stats very quickly to see how good it is in 2026. It has a max CP of 4570, attack of 255, which is really good actually, defense of 191, and a really good stamina of 265. The great thing about Solgaleo is that it does resist 8 different types, and it double resists poison and psychic. Its fast attacks are going to be Fire Spin and Zen Headbutt. Its charged attacks are going to be Flamethrower, Solar Beam, Psychic Fangs, as well as Iron Head. But how do these moves translate into Solgaleo as a raid attacker? Unfortunately, guys, as a psychic type attacker, it's barely breaking into the top 70, currently sitting in the 67th spot as of recording this video, and as a steel type attacker with Iron Head, it's just breaking to the top 50. I must say that was very disappointing to research. It's probably one of the only times that I was a little bit off in terms of what I predicted after looking at the base stats. That being said, they probably couldn't make it too powerful because as we know, Solgaleo can fuse with Necrozma to make Dusk main Necrozma. This is undoubtedly a much better Pokemon to go after. We did see it in the Road of Legends event where we could get a lot of energy to power up these Pokemon up, but right now it looks like Solgaleo can only really shine in the Master League, currently breaking into the top 40, which is a really good stat for the Master League. Because Solgaleo is coming from 5-star raids, this is going to be your 100% IV. In non-weather boosted weather, it's going to be 2310 CP, but in weather boosted weather, it's going to be 2887 in windy and snowy weather because of its psychic and steel typing. But as we move on, if we look at our calendar again, on the 29th, it looks like we have the return coming into 5-star raids of Kyurem. This is very, very interesting to note because we've seen Kyurem quite a few times during the Road of Legends event, and we could even get Black Kyurem and White Kyurem energy for that as well, and we even saw it in raids before GoFest and the Road of Legends event. I have a feeling that they're doing this for one obvious reason, which in my opinion is most likely going to be a Mega Rayquaza raid day. This is not confirmed, I haven't seen it in the leaks or anything like that, but there's a lot of dragon Pokemon that they're making available, and I just think we're gonna see it as a surprise at some point. But how good is Kyurem in its base form? Well, as we know, it is a dragon and ice type Pokemon. It has a max CP of 4041, which is very good, an attack of 246, defense of 170, and an HP of 245. After looking at those stats, Kyurem on its own still holds some weight, but let's look at those fast and charge moves. Fast attacks are gonna be Dragon Breath and Steel Wing, and its charge attacks are are going to be Draco Meteor, Dragon Claw, Blizzard, but it also gets access to the move Glaciate. Glaciate is going to require you to use an Elite Charge TM on this Pokemon. Glaciate will not have a chance of appearing on Kyurem coming from these raids. Kyurem actually doesn't have a lot of resistances. It only resists 3 different types, which is going to be Electric, Grass, and Water, but funny enough, it is weak to 5 different types, which as a legendary isn't very common. It is weak to Dragon, Fairy, Fighting, Rock, and Steel, so make sure to bring along those types to take down the raid. If you guys want to know the 100% IVs for Kyurem, it's going to be 2042 in non-weather boosted weather, but the weather boosted 100% IVs is going to be 2553, and that's going to be in windy and snowy weather because of its Dragon and Ice typing. Please bear in mind as well is that these solgaleo raids as well as the Kyurem raids, once it takes over, will have a 1 in 20 shiny chance for their shinies. But what mega raids are going down this week? Leaving on the 28th of July is going to be Mega Salamence. Mega Salamence is still an incredible Pokemon in Pokemon GO. It is of course a dragon and flying type Pokemon. It has a max CP of 5688, which is incredibly good, an attack value of 310, anything over 300 is a boss attacker, a defense of 251, and a stamina of 216. Its fast attacks are going to be Bite, Dragon Tail, and Fire Fang. Its charge attacks are going to be Crunch, Brutal Swing, Outrage. You can see a star there. That means it is going to require an Elite Charge TM to get Outrage on this Pokemon. Draco Meteor, Fire Blast, Fly. Fly was only in the last 18 months added to this Pokemon, so it could eventually become a very good flying type attacker, and it can also learn Hydro Pump. But looking at these stats and these movesets, how good is Mega Salamence in Pokemon GO right now? Well, if you don't have Mega Rayquaza, as a flying type attacker, this is one of the best Megas you could use. It is currently, with Fly, the 5th best flying type attacker in the game, and with Outrage, it's breaking into the top 7, making it the 7th best dragon type attacker in the game. This is undoubtedly one of the best megas you could use. A lot of people don't have Mega Rayquaza. This is arguably, especially because it shares the same typing, probably your best second choice. But then replacing Mega Salamence on the 29th is going to be Mega Aggron. We haven't seen this Pokemon in some time. Mega Aggron has a max CP of 4705, an attack value of 247, a really good defensive stat of 331, and an HP stat of 172. A lot of people think Mega Aggron is a dual type. It is only a steel type. Because it is a pure steel type, it resists 11 different types. Its fast attacks are going to be Dragon Tail, Smackdown, and Iron Tail. Its charge attacks are going to be Thunder, Stone Edge, Meteor Beam, Rock Tomb, and Heavy Slam. The great thing about this Pokemon, it doesn't need any Elite Charge TMs on this Pokemon to maximize it, but how good is it as a steel type attacker? Well guys, it's still very good. It's breaking to the top 17 in the 17th spot. With an Iron Tail and Heavy Slam combination, you could even use this as a rock type attacker because it does get access to Meteor Beam, and that's still going to hit very hard. Having this Pokemon at Mega Level 3 for candy gains whenever a steel type event comes around, like the Steel Resolve we had a few months ago, this is a perfect opportunity to do that. Get this Pokemon to Mega Level 3. Mega's out of the way, but what is going to be our 5-star Shadow Raid boss for the rest of the month? And it looks like we only have 1 week left to do this, which is going to be Shadow Palkia. Shadow Palkia is a must raid for some of the obvious reasons. It is a dual dragon and water type Pokemon. Its max CP is sitting at 4512, which is very good, an attack value of 280, which is still very impressive because remember, this is a Shadow Pokemon. Shadow Pokemon get a 20% increase on their attack, but the trade-off is that their defense gets decreased by 20%, so this 280 attack stat is still going to hit even harder. Its defense is sitting at 215 and its stamina sitting at 189. Let's run through those fast attacks again. It does get access to Dragon Breath and Dragon Tail, 2 really good dragon type charge moves, and it pairs well with something like Draco Meteor and its charge attacks. It does also have access to Fire Blast. It does get access to Hydro Pump as well as Aqua Tail, but of course it will know Frustration because it is going to be a Shadow Pokemon upon capture. You would then need to wait for the next Team Rocket takeover to use a charge TM to remove Frustration. But with all this said, how good is Shadow Palkia gonna be, especially because we only have 1 week left to do this? Honestly, I would rate a couple for the following reasons. As a water type attacker, it's breaking into the top 15 in the 15th spot, and as a dragon type attacker, it's even better, sitting in the 12th spot with Dragon Tail and Draco Meteor. It doesn't stop there, because where it probably shines best out of all things is going to be in the Master League, currently breaking into the top 16, which in the Master League is an incredibly impressive feat, so make sure to raid this Pokemon. Let's get back to our calendar again. I want to stay on Wednesday for that Kyurem raid hour, which is going to be happening from 6 to 7 p.m. local time. Please remember, we've just showed you Kyurem's base stats and how good it really is. Of course, its fused forms, Black Kyurem and White Kyurem, are the ones to go after, but you need a hundo for Kyurem because once it's fused, it will take on the background, the shiny status, as well as the stats from your Kyurem. So this is a great opportunity again to get yourself a hundo or potentially a shundo if you're very lucky. But the other big incentive alongside getting a good Kyurem for your battle parties is going to be the guaranteed rare XL candy again, like it was for the Max Monday for Feebas. Every single in-person raid you do in this raid hour is going to guarantee you a rare XL candy. Just combine it. If you did maybe 5 to 10 max battles here and you maybe did 5 to 10 in-person raids during these hours specifically, you could get between 15 and 20 rare XL candy. That is something we've never seen in Pokemon Go. Make sure to take advantage of that incentive. Let's get back to our calendar again, moving on to Thursday the 30th. A couple things we need to talk about here, but again, I'm going to talk about GBL Thursdays. This is going to be running for the remainder of the season. You can complete up to 10 sets per day, which equals 50 battles, which is incredible, guys. But the reason why it's incredible is that it's coming at 4 times Stardust rewards. Completing 5 out of 5 sets, 4 out of 5 sets over and over again and doing 50 battles in that day, you could accumulate potentially with a star piece running, even using that premium track, you could get a bucket load of Stardust even in some of the lower ranks. But the other great thing I have to talk about again is going to be the reward Pokemon. I feel like no other person says this, and we've said it for a few weeks in a row, but guys, you can get legendary Pokemon for absolutely free. You don't have to raid, you don't have to pay anything. Just literally playing the game, you could get an incredible encounter. Make sure to play GBL Thursdays for some of those reasons. The other big thing that's happening on Thursday is going to be the Spotlight Hour featuring Bidoof. You might think to yourself, why would I even go after Bidoof? It's not necessarily the Pokemon, it's the bonus in that hour, which is going to be 2 times transfer candy. We just had the Road of Legends event. We just had GoFest Global. We even just had that GoFest Global Makeup Day, which most of you watching this video probably already played in the recent days. You have an incredible opportunity if you don't want to trade those Pokemon away to transfer them during this hour because it's going to be 2 times transfer candy, which means you're going to get double the candy for all these legendary Pokemon. That is something that disappeared in Pokemon Go for months, and I'm so glad it's back part of the Spotlight Hour. We did get an opportunity to do this in the Pikachu Celebration event where you could even get more XL candy upon transfer, but if you forgot to do this or weren't playing the game or you were busy, mark this in your calendar, a great opportunity to transfer your Pokemon. Just to run through Bidoof going into B-Barrel very quickly, unfortunately this Pokemon, as much as it is an OG, a lot of people do like B-Barrel. It's just not a great Pokemon at all. Of course, it does take on a water typing, but it's sitting in the 129th spot for a water type attacker. And even in the Great League and Ultra League, it's barely breaking into the top 400. So guys, not so much the Pokemon, more about the bonus. Let's get back to our calendar again, moving on to Friday the 31st, the last day of the month. There is always one big thing that we have to talk about on Fridays, which is going to be Friendship Fridays. Remember guys, on this Friday, you can make up to 3 special trades per day, which is incredibly underrated. Trades are going to cost 20% less Stardust. You're going to get a guaranteed 2 XL candy upon trades, but the biggest thing upon all of this is going to be the increased chance of lucky Pokemon after doing a trade. We've seen examples, and we have said this in every single week prior to this, that we've seen people get up to 15 to 20 luckies in 100 trades if you're very lucky. The great thing about lucky Pokemon is that once a Pokemon goes lucky, it has a base floor of 12, 12, 12, which means it has a 1 in 64 chance of being a hundo. This is also why it's super important to take advantage of those special trades, because a lot of us might have shiny Pokemon like that shiny Mewtwo with the special background from GoFest Global. Trade these Pokemon on these Fridays specifically because those trades are going to have a higher chance of going lucky, which means a higher chance of a Schlundo with the background. This is incredible, and to be honest, I have proof every single week, and I did it last week with my editor of this channel. We have been hunting the Hoenn starters for a long time, and bang, there we go. Friendship Friday came through for us again. Lucky Hundo Torchic, which he can now use for his Mega Blaziken, which of course is one of the best fighting and fire type Pokemon in this game. But speaking of trading, the next day is also very important. Let's move on to Saturday, the first day of the month, and a lot of people have forgotten that we have our first big event of August, and it's going to be a banger, which is going to be the reintroduction of Gmax Rillaboom, having its own Gmax raid day from 2 to 5 p.m. on that Saturday. The bonuses here is that we can have a max particle collection limit of up to 1600, but remember, this is a soft cap. We do have a way to maximize doing even more free raids, which is going to come in a video in the first couple days of this week. All power spots will refresh a lot more frequently, and of course they will be featuring all Gmax Rillaboom battles. Additional power spots will also be active. We can get 8 times max particles from collecting them from power spots, but also during this event we can make up to 3 special trades. So from the Friday to the Saturday, you have 6 special trades across 2 days. You need to be taking advantage of that. And last but not least, from Friday 31st at 5 p.m. PDT time all the way until the Saturday at 8 p.m. PDT time, the remote raid limit will be increased to 20 from 10. And it actually doesn't end there, because only from midnight on the Saturday up until 5 p.m. that day, you can get 2 times max particles from exploring, as well as quarter adventuring distance for getting max particles. So what this effectively means, normally you would have to walk 2 kilometers to get 300 particles. Now you only have to walk 500 meters to get 600 max particles. If trainers want to upgrade their experience, they can buy the ticket for a total cost of $5. You can get 1 max mushroom, an extra 25,000 XP, an additional 6,400 max particles, including 2 times XP for completing these max battles. I have an incredible way to maximize XP on this day, and that will be coming in its own separate video, like we said, in a few days. Once you defeat gmax Rillaboom, you will then get an encounter with Rillaboom. That 100% IV is going to be 1899 CP, so screenshot that now if you want to remember. That's going to be Saturday out of the way. Back to our calendar again, having a look at Sunday the 2nd. The only thing we really need to focus on here is going to be Scenic Sunday. Please take advantage of the Scenic Sunday, because we know that the Choose Your Path timed research featuring fairy Pokemon will be going down. This is going to be a great time to tackle some of these tasks while you're out playing Scenic Sunday, but please remember to walk routes on the Sunday. The reason why you want to do that is that when you pop an incense walking on that route, the incense spawns are going to be boosted, and more than that as well, on Scenic Sunday, more Pokemon are going to be spawning while following a route, and on top of that, more Pokemon will be boosted in the wild. You can also complete 3 routes on that day to encounter Mateo 3 times. Once you encounter Mateo, you will then get a gift. If you open this gift, of course, you can pin that gift, which will allow you to get a Scatterbug encounter from any of those random regions, and maybe it'll help you towards that Vivillon medal, but it can also give you a 7-kilometer egg. We can hatch Galarian Corsola, Galarian Slowpoke, Hisuian Sneasel, Hisuian Growlithe, and of course the main target for me is going to be White Stripe Basculin. White Stripe Basculin is the only Pokemon that can evolve out of the Red Stripe and Blue Stripe Basculin, but not now in Pokemon Go. At some point, White Stripe Basculin will be able to evolve into Basculegion. The other thing you need to be doing is collecting Zygarde cells, which of course will generally appear throughout the route, but more particularly at the end of the route. Once you've seen that green little indicator on your map, tap it, it will then be sucked into your Zygarde cube. That being said, buddies also get affected on Scenic Sundays, where your buddy distance is almost going to be halved for getting candy. So this is great for something like legendary Pokemon or evolving certain Pokemon like Eevee, for example, into Espeon or Umbreon. You could then stack this by using a Poffin as well, and if everything stacks together correctly, you should be able to walk much less distance for much greater reward. Getting buddy Pokemon and best budding them is very important, because you also want to be working on that best buddy Platinum medal, which requires you to best buddy quite a lot of Pokemon, as you can see on screen right now. As we said in the middle of this event, that Ozone Ascent featuring Rayquaza and Mega Rayquaza will currently be going live when this video drops. Please watch it above me right now, it's really going to help you, but more importantly, the Gmax Rillaboom video will also be going live in a couple of days, including all of the content updates that have been listed for August. That video will also be coming this week. It's going to be a stacked week coming up. Love you guys, go with us. Please smash that like and subscribe button and that hype button. I really appreciate your support, and the numbers, yeah guys, extremely grateful. Love you, and we'll catch you in the next one, baby. Shh.